So anybody of you guys already are experienced with dry ice? Not at all?
I mean, videos, but...
You've seen the videos,
yeah.
But probably always undercarriage. That's
Yeah,
basically, that's with our machines, we have a totally different approach. You know, we're not so much into undercarriage. You can do it with a decent compressor, but we are more in the engines, in the brake compartments here.
Wheel wells.
We're
still Americanizing our German.
Yeah, I'm getting there. So we started kind of from the scrap, engineering it, thinking about it, how to make it smaller, how to make it nicer, and what it came out is basically 5 years later, the 2 or 3 machines you're gonna see here, which are handy, they're very compact, they're very nice. They only weigh the smallest only weighs 24 pounds. So just kind of lift it up and you can see what the baby can do. I mean, it can clean the undercarriage, we're gonna see. It can clean the interior, it clean the exterior.
What Granat's company did, we met him in January down at Mobile Tech in Florida. Kind of funny because all he wanted to do was show me how it got chocolate off of seats.
Just a small example of it was the Chevy Cruze, the seat. Now it gets all whitish, just condensation. You blow it off with a little bit of air just, and after that the seat is dry and clean. And it only takes you like 30 seconds to do it.
Where does the dirt go?
That's a great question. The way that the technology works is it dries the dirt, the grime, the contaminants out to basically the floor of a desert. So think of taking that lake and drying it all out, right? Because that's how the CO2 reacts with the surface. Your next dry ice pellet that hits expands at
70,000%.
its size. Now, this is on a microscopic level, right? So now you have something that technically it wasn't wet. You're not gonna feel it being wet, but we'll just talk about like oil, right? It's gonna dry that molecule or that piece of oil or grime up, and then the next one that hits it is gonna break the bond, and it's gonna go someplace else. Right, but because it's being so small, right, and there's so much air behind it, in the interior, it's leaving the car, right? So when you're done, like especially the S2000, when we do a wheel well, you'll see everything on the ground.
Which is not a problem because it's dry. You can just sweep it together, put it in the bin, and that's on.
Now, when we traditionally clean, we're seeing that also, right? We're adding chemical to break the bond, to break down the contaminants, and we're adding water to flush it out. From my experience, what it absolutely loves is any sort of tight fabric, Alcantara, right? If you have an Alcantara wheel, you get that greasy, it's almost gloss paint at that point. This will take it to as new, as long as it's not worn down.
Oh, wait a minute, I have a video for that.
Oh, that's so weird.
So here you see the steering wheel, Alcantara on top, and the buildup on there, it's just close to impossible to get it off with water because it will all rinse down. You have the switches here, you have the electronics for the airbag and everything. With this, you just dry it up, blow it off, and you open the doors. The question you asked before, where does the dirt go? You just open the doors, and with the airflow, like 95% of it goes out of the car, and the rest you just take a vacuum cleaner at the end of your detail and vacuum the car.
So with that, couple of safety things for the training. Dry ice, you can handle it. Don't let it sit in your hand. If you want to feel it, just keep it moving because it will burn you. Right? You'll feel it. It's not going to pop up out of nowhere. It's not going to bite you. Right? So we always wear gloves while using the gun. We're going to be running a lot of ice and a lot of air. If you're the shooter, make sure you have glasses. If you're getting close and you're doing anything with media, make sure you have glasses. Do not shoot your friend with the pellets. It doesn't really hurt, but it will nick them pretty good. But remember, you're shooting something, so let's be a little safe. And what you're hitting, it's going to bounce off and go someplace else, right? CO2, right? It takes oxygen out of the air. We're not moving enough of it where we're really concerned. Where I would be concerned is if you have a little clean room, say like 1.5, 2 car garage, and it's all closed up for the winter, and you jump in the car and you only have one door open, and you're starting to clean the car, you're gonna run out of air, right? So you're gonna get a little loopy, a little dizzy. We just go outside, get some fresh air, and you're good.
Don't stop with the car with dry ice in there. Have a nap or something. Even when you park the car at night in your garage, have the box of CO2 in there or dry ice in there. And the next morning when you're gonna open the door, I did that once, I opened the door, I forgot about it, jumped in the car and said, what's going on? There's no air in here. So I went out again, that was fine. But that's not scary because what we inhale is oxygen and we exhale CO2. It just is the amount of the concentration, So it's not like some other gases that stay in your lung and that you don't get them out. Oxygen in, CO2 out, not a problem for our body. The concentration is just the thing you need to be careful about.
So how does dry ice fit into a detail regimen, whether hobbyist or full-time shop?
Yeah, many customers back in Germany, not many, some of them, they said, oh, now I bought the dry ice machine, I'm set up, I can order the dry ice from you, it's going to be there next day, okay, I have a little roll-up here that says something about dry ice, but the customer doesn't care, they don't ask me for dry ice cleaning. I said, well, they don't know about it, they don't care about it, they just want their car clean. There's only about, like, say, 5 to 10% of the customers that care for chemical-free cleaning, or the ones that have some allergies maybe, or little kids. There's only like 5 to 10% of the customers out there that are willing to pay a price premium for it. So don't go for those. Go for everybody. Like I said, the time-cutting aspect with every car is so huge that you just can use it for every car. Like you said, get it in your daily routine, put it in your processes. Save the time and do more cars. That's what it's all about.
Have you done a smoker car with it?
We just did it this morning.
There is an aspect to it where it cleans also, or where it gets rid of odors. What I would do is I would do a deep cleaning first with dry ice, for example, and then there's a trick about it. You just take a bucket of water, warm water. You put in 1 or 2 scoops of dry ice in there. Then you close all the doors, put in the ventilation system, and then what happens? The dry ice will expand, so it will push out the oxygen out of the car. There will be a lot of CO2 in the car, and it kills everything that breathes in there. So some of the bacteria, not all of them, but some of the bacteria die. Definitely all animals die that are still in there. So in the seats, the little bed bugs or anything that's in the seat, maybe it all dies. So, and if it's not there anymore, it doesn't smell anymore, for example.
Yes.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, we build them to be maintenance-free, so there's no oil that need to be changed or filters that need to be changed in the machine, so you can basically run it up to 5-6 years, I would say, probably, easily. Because I've 50% of our customers are like detailers that use the machine, maybe they use like 30 pounds, 50 pounds a day, the big ones, But I have also industrial customers. Some of them use about 1,500 pounds a week with the machine. And I have some that, I haven't heard of like for 4 or 5 years. And then they call me, oh, we need a second machine because we're expanding. But what is with the other machine? Yeah, well, it's working. So yeah. That's a problem, actually, for me, because they last too long.
As long as your air is the way it should be, and that's a key component here, and we're learning the pain points of having proper air. We've been all over the country now with it. So the good news is we found ice everywhere we want. And the bad news is we've had a little bit of every different kind of air source.
You can compare it kind of with a car and an engine. I mean, you can have a Porsche with a normal Carrera, which is quite nice already, but you can have a 4S as well, so it kicks ass more. So the more power the engine has, the more fun it is to drive the car, right? Same thing with the air compressor. You get a small, nice thing that makes the machine work quite nice in interior, like you said, exterior or undercarriage, maybe not so much. That's not a problem with the machine. It's really just about the air.
The detail industry right now, there's kind of 2 movements going on with machines. So we have the race for the cordless, right? So we have all the lithium-ion battery packs coming out and stuff. On this other side, some of the major tool manufacturers are really going back to looking at air because they've sold all you detailers tools already. No one's buying them anymore because the shops are full of tools. They don't want to play with lithium-ion because they don't last as long. So they're breaking into their commercial and industrial side, and they're taking the pneumatic technology and putting it out into the polishers that we use every day. So this isn't a crazy ask for a detail shop owner to have proper air. It's always kind of been an oversight.
It's hot here, let's go cool down some ice.
What we're going to show you today is what the machine what it all can do. So we talked about, everybody's about undercarriage work. So we're gonna start here to show you what it can do on the wheel well. So you're gonna see the brakes, they have some rust buildup on it. So we're gonna take this off, we're gonna clean the suspensions and everything. So actually not I'm gonna do it, you're gonna have the chance to play with it. We have 2 machines here, you got to plug them in, one here, one there. So we are ready to go. Safety, again, when you work with the machine, please wear glasses, because with every air tool you operate, it hits something and it might, something might fly back. It's not even the ice only, it might be some oil, some dirt, some stones, some whatever. So just be safe on that side. The gloves, when you get in touch with the dry ice, just to be safe that that you don't hurt yourself. This is actually where the dry ice goes in, and this is what it looks like. Kind of cool. So the gas, the fog you see is actually the CO2 being a little bit, you can see how it whops around in my hand. It goes from the left to the right because it's just a little bit more heavy than oxygen or air, the normal air. So that's what we meant to do. I think it's a little bit too much for me. So I'm going to fill it in the machine. But what I'm going to show you now is how it works. So we're going to throw that on the ground now. Put it somewhere here, hopefully not hitting the Honda. And you see it's gone. And that's basically the aspect about it. You know, it hits the surface and then it expands and it's gone. It goes to gas state. So there's no mess around, nothing stays around. It's residue-free cleaning, which is quite cool. So actually we are ready to go. We put in the dry ice in the machine. We plug the machine. So everything we plug in the machine is just the air. So we just need the air hose to be plugged in the machine. On the Vario, we also have the option to adjust the ice flow rate. So sometimes when you just have very delicate work, you just put it in one and then see a little bit of ice is coming out. When you want to do some more cleaning, you put it in 5 and there's more ice coming out. I hope you could see that difference. But you will definitely do when you clean something. And with this machine, you can also take the crusher out and use the full power of a 3 mil, which is especially good for undercarriage work, for example. So I would say the small one, even though it's a small machine, it's about 30% more powerful than the other one. And we also have basically three models we offer here in the States, which is the Champ Turbo, and the Champ Vario. The Champ is not here at the moment because we try it out at a different shop, but it's black. And so much for the theory. Let's go into the action now, I would say. So we have 2 switches here on the machine. So this one is when you turn it, you see there's actually only air coming, no ice. So you can turn off the ice here, which is quite neat. Here again, see the ice? No ice. And also this one, you can switch and there's no air coming. So it's kind of a safety matter when you change the nozzles or want to do anything with the machine, you can switch off the air completely. But you can also, switch it off just a little bit, just to be more sensitive. So you can play around with it a little bit here on the nozzle. Okay, so I'm going to start with the brakes here a little bit. Right, you can come close and see the difference. You want to get close? You see here, it's all rusty, and here it's all nice and clean, for example. Of course, this is more than surface rust. This is really rusty. You can see when you go to the other side, we did it with some abrasive material. So we did a quite nice job on it to clean it, but it won't change too much because just the dry ice is not abrasive, so it won't change the material. So you will probably not get rid of the rust, but we're going to see what it's going to do. See, yeah. You got rid of the surface rust, but it doesn't change the material too much, so it says in there. So who wants to play around? Why don't you start?
So what I like about this is as we come in to shoot, it's going to give you a little bit of that fan pattern. And as you can see, I'm mowing the lawn. So now some people will argue with me and say, hey man, why can't I just use a cleaner and a towel? You can for something like this. You can't for something like this. And you can see I'm moving pretty quick, right? But if we're sitting here with a pressure washer, we're not gonna get all of these nooks and crannies. We're not gonna get all those hard edges. We're not gonna get it that clean.
For the box, what I usually do, I let it determine, put a little
Cleaner.
Yeah, a little bit.
We'll let that sit. If we come in here, the nooks and crannies of this intake, the aluminum, the taped up stuff, I'm not worried about any of that. I'm not worried about the fuel fitting.
So what's nice, most of these engines are made watertight and you can clean with water, but for a lot of customers, there's a risk to it if you use water. There's a lot of exposed materials in here, there's a lot of wires, and all it takes is one broken piece in the plastic within the fuse box or the wires. There's a lot of things that can happen with water, and the customer's gonna have that security of using dry ice where there's no water and there's no risk to any of this. And it's really fast, you don't have to worry about, I mean, you can do this pretty much anywhere that you had air.
So this would be the engine controller with all the switches. Right on top of the battery. In the air. Again, an amazing way to give a safe, effective cleaning where it's gonna make it look as new. The water's not gonna pool up in here. The water's not gonna pool up down there. It's not gonna pool up where the coil packs are. If we wanna detail the coil pack. Something I would never do with a pressure washer, a spray bottle, or a brush. Jay said is any sticker like this or the ends of tape. Right? So it will open up anything that's wrapped in tape, but it's going to be completely safe on this convoluted plastic here. But where there's tape, just move a little bit faster. Think of it like you're mowing the lawn, right? So turn the nozzle and go completely over nice and smooth. Come over, come back halfway. There you go. You can come back a bit. It's still going to clean. This engine detail, if we timed ourselves, we're really looking at probably 10 minutes and we're done. So that car, you know, it comes in, by the time they're done cleaning 2 wheels, traditional method, because that's the way we do wheels, this engine cleaning is done. You close the hood and it's game over.
System do they have here?
To get going for interiors and motors, compressor and dryer about $5 grand. That's gonna get you 50% of what the machine can do. For the most part, it's $1,000 per horsepower. So a 7.5 horsepower, 3-phase compressor and dryer, $7,500-ish is gonna get you 75% of what the machine can do. 10 horsepower with dryer is gonna get 10 grand. That's gonna get you all of what the machine can do.
See here, and I would say the door is done almost. Well,
Yeah,
back here we should hit it.
yeah. Wow.
Try to the pedals. Ready? Thank you.
This is
Aluminum.
way different than what I thought it was, but
Yeah.
way more impressive.
Cool.
I thought it was going to be like they said in there, where you're going to go under a car, you're going to shoot. It's going to look like new, which is cool. But this is way cooler. This is much more impressive. And just to see how that works in those little tiny crevices.
Here
Oh,
you
and-
actually can see how the dirt vaporizes. I think it's always like magic when I see it. It just goes off, and it makes grown-up people get some water in the eyes
Yeah, no, it's
sometimes.
crazy.